Living Local presents BIZ BUZZ 413.
Welcome to BIZ BUZZ 413. I am your host, Jill Monson. I hope you've joined us before, but if you haven't, just real quick, let me tell you a little bit about where this came from. So BIZ BUZZ came out of an amazing platform called Living Local 413, and it's an initiative that was founded by Bill Cole. He's a local entrepreneur, but he saw a need. He saw a need to really bring together all four of the counties in Western Massachusetts and make sure that everyone sort of had their finger on the pulse of the resources, the strategies, the connections, all the things going on. And that's Living Local 413. You can find that online at livinglocal413.org, including a remarkable community calendar and a what I call LinkedIn Local. It's a group that you can join free of charge and really be able to post about what's going on in your business needs. If you have questions, concerns, if you have something you want to share, something coming up, you can do all of that in our online platform at Living Local 413. And again, it's free to do so. We are well over 413, yes, 413 members, and we would love to have you. So check that out. Before we begin with today's guest, I want to make sure I take a quick moment to thank our groundbreaker sponsor. They have been with us since the jump, and I am so grateful. Home City Development, thank you for all you do for the community and for supporting BIZ BUZZ 413. Today, I have a guest that I've never met, but I was recommended to by somebody that I respect and love. And I am very excited personally because it's something quite honestly, I need. So today, please help me give a big BIZ BUZZ 413 welcome to Gordon Oliver, the Director of Business Development at Cambridge Credit Counseling. Hi, Gordon.
Hi, Jill. Thanks for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
I am so glad to have you. And I would like to take just a quick second and shout out our friend, Angela Park, who I've had on. If you haven't listened to the episode, it aired, I think it was at the end of 2025. I can't remember now, but go back and look through wherever you listen to your podcast and search Angela Park from 52 Sumner, see what she's got going on, including some really awesome shows coming up in March and April, and people are not going to want to miss it. So how do you know Angela, Gordon?
Actually, I do a lot of networking for our organization, and Angela and I were co-members in a chapter in Chicopee called Destination Success.
Oh, yes. And she loves that group. And it's okay. You can mention it. I am one of those people who believes in supporting all the different things going on. So Gordon and Angela, I had forgotten, you're part of a BNI. And is there opportunity? I know that's not why we're here, but if somebody wants to email you and ask you more about that group, are there seats open right now?
100%. And it's one of the highest performing chapters in the region. A really great group of people. I was just actually speaking with Angela, and she's just so great. I actually started bartending when she opened 52 Sumner to help her out.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
I love it. You mix a good drink. You're my new best friend, Gordon.
Yeah, there we go.
So today we have you on to talk about what you do when you're not mixing drinks and hanging out with Angela and doing networking. You are with Cambridge Credit Counseling. And so I was hoping, I actually knew a little bit about the organization. Of course, I've done a little more research, but could you just sort of give the 30,000 foot view to somebody that is listening who doesn't have any idea what Cambridge Credit Counseling is and sort of maybe what you do and how the organization is a little different than other things that are out there?
Well, I'm glad you bring up other things that are out there because there's a lot out there for people that are not very good. And our organization has been in business almost 30 years coming this November out of this building in Agawam Corporate Center. And I've been here collectively over 20 years. I've been a certified credit counselor. I've been a manager. I've worked through ISO 9000, which one of our philosophies as a company is continuous improvement in helping both the clients and our employees. So we're really one-stop shop for anything that regards debt problems, debt management, student loan counseling, housing counseling, and even bankruptcy counseling.
So it's interesting because, and I am, to the best of my ability, I'm one of those people. I have a background in marketing, Gordon, and I'm a believer in there's different schools of thought. Some will be like the all and the tide, right? All will trash tide or tide will trash all. I don't do that. I believe that there's like room for everybody. With that being said, so I don't like to specifically knock another place, but I do like to point out that in your space of credit counseling, as someone who has struggled with credit issues for multitude of reasons, I can tell you there's a lot of, I hesitate to call them scams, but less than reputable. So what is something somebody should kind of check for to make sure they're not being pulled into something that could actually hurt them potentially worse than they're already, the situation they're in?
Yeah, I'm not in the business of disparaging companies or anything like that. The credit repair space is mostly bogus, if you will, because when it comes down to your credit, if the things that are being reported about you are accurate, then getting them erased is next to impossible. Maybe 25 years ago, 30 years ago, when there were court documents in a basement somewhere, maybe there were some things that weren't worth a creditor validating. But now in the electronic age, it's easy to validate what the truth is about how you manage your debts and payments and who you are.
You guys are a not-for-profit, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
So I think that to me, that almost is an immediate, and again, not the answer that means everybody in the not-for-profit space is reputable, because we know that's not the case. But I feel like for me, you're local, like I can drive over to Agawam. I can come from any of the 413 counties to come to you, so I can meet you, shake your hand. You're not some AI bot out of, some other continent. So share a little bit, you've been there, a long time, but share a little bit about like your background, Gordon. What brought you into this space? Because it's such a unique, I don't think anybody goes to school going, I think I want to grow up and be business development for credit counseling.
No.
What brought you here?
You're right. And I started off as a counselor. So back when we opened, there were over 1,000 companies that, from a variety of national to local mom and pops, that did debt counseling. The industry went through regulation in about 2004. And when that happened there is you had to be licensed or registered in the state you do business in, which is a good thing. And we're national. So out of this office, we have acquired another company in the Midwest. And we do business in all 50 states. But the good news, as you're mentioning it, is locally people can come in and sit with a counselor face to face to talk about what their options. And really, frankly, and I'll narrow it down, there's one other thing I want to highlight that's not really good for people. There's really 4 ways to handle your debts. And if you're having a debt problem, number 1, it's figure out a plan to do it on your own to pay your debt down. Number 2 is debt counseling and debt management, which I'll frame in a minute. Then there's bankruptcy, which if you have to go to an attorney because you are upside down and there's no solving that, then there's bankruptcy. And then the 4th thing, which is not very good and is being heavily marketed, is debt settlement. And the top debt settlement companies spend more in a month on advertising to tell people not to pay their bills than we have to generate in a year in revenue.
Wow. So I just wanted to check too. One of the options isn't run and bury your head in the sand, because I tried that option.
Yeah, we've seen that, and it really doesn't work out well.
No, all you do is get a mouthful of sand. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So one of the things, and I want you to be able to circle back to talking about, sort of how you can manage through your debt. But tell me a little bit, one of the things I think that as a society, especially right now, you know what I mean? I would love to think that people, as they grow up, learn. But if I'm an example, in a couple days, 2 days to be exact, I will be turning 51. And you would think that by this age, I would have this more figured out. And I still don't. I still struggle. And so I do the, I'm going to get the 0% whatever to get this or pay that off. And then I'm going to pay that off before it gets to where there's interest. And now I have the card that has 29% interest. And yes, I'm telling a true story because I just did all of this I'm putting in some information to Common Capital. And so I had to put this all on paper. But one of the things is like this idea of just, I'm good because I'm paying the minimum. My minimum on my credit card, let's say, is $300 and I'm paying that. But if I'm correct, that's not what's happening, really. I'm not ever going to get out of debt, correct? Tell me more about how paying the minimum isn't the answer.
Yeah. So in general, the good news is that when we used to tell people how it really works, they used to think that we were bloviating the facts on what people would spend if they paid their minimum payments. But now the creditors have got to put it on your statement on how long it's going to take you if you pay the minimums. And a common example, a $15,000 credit card debt at 29%, the minimum payment at that moment would be $513 a month. And that would take probably $24,000 in interest if you follow the minimum payments as they schedule them.
Ow.
That's the problem with credit cards. And to your point about what you're going through. When we counsel people, the counseling is free, and 3 out of 4 people leave with a budget and an action plan to do things on their own. When you have options like a balance transfer, it's what's the plan with that? Like,
Right.
how are you going to pay it down so you're making the progress you want to make with that transfer? So most of the people leave with a game plan to pay their debts down after they speak to a counselor.
The plan. Ah, that's the thing I keep missing, Gordon. Thanks. Thanks for pointing that out. That's my birthday present from you, right? So one of the things I think I read this, and I'm not sure where, if whether it was on your website or maybe it was on, your LinkedIn or something, but it said, that basically the idea that debt isn't a failure. And I have severe adult ADHD. And one of the things is the idea of like impulsivity, but also this perfectionism, right? And so for me, the debt feels like a failure and I worry about talking about it. So here I am talking about it on a podcast. Great, Jill. But in general, I don't talk about it, right? And somewhere again, I read, and the quote was that you guys strive to deliver clear, non-judgmental, actionable advice that the people listening can use. So that being said, how can you, really help people out? Like what happens? What does this, debt management process look like?
Yeah, so we can use the current time frame we're in, right? Since COVID, obviously that changed the world in so many ways.
God.
But things were really good then. Mortgage rates were low. People weren't shopping. They weren't out in the community. They weren't going out all the time because we had the shutdown. But then as that opened up, the economy kind of went the wrong way with all the supply chain costs and all the things that everybody has followed for the last couple of years. But most importantly, what do you hear everybody say right now? It's the grocery store costs too much, right? Everything. It was eggs for a while, chicken. But really, when you go to the grocery store and you walk out with a couple of bags, it's pretty expensive. So as a result of people having expenses like energy go up,
oh my God,
people don't necessarily make more money, right?
Yeah.
So that puts them in a position where sometimes things start going on unsecured lines of credit. And I will tell you, when I was doing presentations back during COVID, the statistic was 840 billion outstanding on credit cards. Now it's 1.2 trillion. And the rates have gone up since that time frame. So people are really in a pinch dealing with credit cards.
Well, it's so interesting. And again, I'm not a politics. I mean, I talk politics in my life, but I don't do that on the podcast. But this isn't like a red or a blue or a left or a right side of the aisle. But there's this rhetoric that like, oh, everything's like getting better, and I'm not feeling that in my and legitimately like my gas. The house, I mean, I live in a historic old Victorian and it is large, but you can't do much with energy efficiency and such. So you kind of have to suck it up. But our bill is up from $400 ish on a budget. It's like a monthly, 12 months a year budget to over 700, Gordon.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I got to find a way to increase my income by that, not to mention the other things, like you said, like, groceries or whatever. So it becomes a little, sometimes chicken or the egg. I guess one of the things I was wondering is, what do you recommend when, sometimes people feel like they don't have enough and it's something that they feel is important and they feel like credit is the only option. So is there something you can, a short lesson or something you can tell people? Like if you're thinking, I don't have enough to get this, but I need it, what do you tell people to consider before charging it?
Well, put this in perspective. About 68% of people are paying and living paycheck to paycheck. So
how much was that?
68%.
Wow.
Paycheck to paycheck. And this is not an income-based problem. There are plenty of people that make a very good living that are in the same problem because they are just living in that kind of means with cars, houses, etc.
Yeah.
So the biggest point that I can make in budgeting is a painful exercise to some people. Matter of fact, we try to use spending plan because it's your income, what you bring in, versus what your expenses are going out. And when you first do a budget, you're guessing. When you do some tactical journalizing, like from month to month, let's say in March, you go from March 1st to March 30th, and you save every expense receipt, and then you compare that to what your game plan is, you might find that you thought you were spending $600 for your family in groceries, but you're actually spending $900, and somehow that $900 is getting spent, right?
Yeah.
So budgeting is important. One big one, Jill, and we talked off air real quick. When someone is put in crisis, the last thing you want to do is make a crisis budget when you're in crisis because there's so many emotions, distractions, and the people that come to us for help are typically not people that are just irresponsibly going out spending. It's life events, changes in economy, change in expense, costs, etc., that put people into a position. So that's what we try to help with. And the debt management plan, if it's high interest rate credit card debt, is a great solution that we've been helping people for almost 30 years with to help them get out of it.
Yeah, I think that obviously crisis is major. One of the big things I feel, and this is something I think my brother is Scott is really, he's always been really good with money. It's like he was Alex P. Keaton growing up from Family Ties, and I was Mallory. Like grandma would give us each $20, and
Yeah.
I'd spend mine and his with interest. It was I've just always been this way. It's terrible. But I think one of the things he'll say to me often is, "Do you need that or do you want that?" And when I really sit with it, when I don't impulse, now there are things that sometimes, the car breaks down, you need to get to work, you don't have enough cash in your reserve right now because you haven't been able to come up with that spending plan. Okay, you got to charge it to get the car fixed, let's say. However, shiny new thing for your car is available that's going to soup it up that you might not need, right? And so I've started to be able to explore more of my needs and my wants because you'll say, oh, I need that. Well, do you really? Like, I need heat, but do I need the filet? I could get the hot dogs if I have to, although I don't want to.
Right.
So before we run out of time, because that's always my problem, one of the things that I wanted to sort of get to, and before we end, I'm going to have you share a little bit about how people can get in touch, what you offer. And I'm also curious, this is coming up. But I'm curious if you offer any kind of partnership where you'll go into like an employer, let's say, and talk. So before we get there, though, we're always told, or you hear sort of almost your whole adult life, check your credit reports, check your credit reports. And as someone who had to do this recently, for something I'm working on with Common Capital, is that overwhelming? I have all three of my credit reports, and I just I didn't realize how long they get when you're old because you have all these things. So I'm completely overwhelmed. Are there any, suggestions or recommendations for, how you should check your credit reports, how often you should be doing that so you don't make yourself nuts, but it's obviously important.
Well, quick shout out to Common Capital and the team, Roberto and those guys over there. They actually work with us on business people that are trying to maybe have to tend to some things before they get funding.
Yes.
So we're grateful to be a part of that. On the credit report situation, it used to be you could only pull one report for free per year at annualcreditreport.com. And we would suggest that everybody reviews one credit report one quarter, the next one, the next quarter, et cetera. But now, because things have changed, you could pull your credit report weekly if you want to. And that's probably not necessary, but I would say
and
to pull
terrifying.
all three of them.
Don't do that.
Yeah, don't get right.
Do not do that.
That would just be pain. That
Yes.
should be a prison sentence, right? Yeah. So once a quarter to pull all three, because there's a lot of bad people out there doing bad things. And if major corporations can get hacked and get information, so can you. So you want to look at your credit report for not just the debts you owe and everything being reported properly, but also if anybody's trying to utilize your information. Because identity theft destroys people, and you've got to make this part of your financial wellness behaviors, if you will, to stay in tune with it.
Yeah, and that's something that I've avoided like the plague, and I think a lot of people do because you get that overwhelm, right? Like, so
Yep.
no, but there is, if right now, my poor mother-in-law, how many times that poor woman who lives with us has got, the small amounts, but money taken in fraudulent ways. It's very disturbing how much more easy it's becoming, I guess, to do that to people.
It is. Yep. Electronic devices, fake links, you name it.
One of the ones I just heard about, this is totally off the subject, but one of the ones I just heard about was with mortgages, where they do something with your mortgage where when you end up going to sell your house, your mortgage isn't even in your name because they've done something on the back end and taken an equity loan or something. It's scary as all get out. So
Indeed.
Yeah. Just don't watch the news. No kidding. I'm just joking.
No,
I'm
right.
just joking.
You're
but
probably better off.
I do appreciate you shouting out Common Capital because I do. If you're listening and you're not familiar with Common Capital and you own a small business, they're a SBA lender. They work again with all four counties here in Hampden, Hampshire, Franklin, and Berkshire counties, and they're just wonderful. They help those who need some sort of capital expenditure for their business, but might not be ready to be funded by a traditional bank. But you're right, Gordon. Right, I've been dealing with that. Right, there's some things I had to get cleared up and figured out and such, and so it's great to see that synergy between them and Cambridge Credit Counseling. I'm grateful for that. So the person listening who's like, okay, fine, Jill, I'll make the call or, go online. What do they need to do? What's the process? And then, how do they do that? And then also my secondary question, Gordon, do you offer this to a business that may have, a handful of employees and want to bring someone in to talk to them?
I wish I had the time to tell you about employee statistics, and I'll send you the article I put together on what it actually costs the employer, because 1 in 4 people in the workplace struggle with debt problems.
Wow.
So the answer to your question is, and I'm grateful for this, most employers do not have a solution if someone in the employment has a debt problem. They have financial advisors, retirement planners, but they don't. Now, I'll give you a quick local story.
Please.
I know we're running out of time.
No, please. This is important.
Yeah, Mason Wright is a local nonprofit that we went in and did a presentation, and their employee assistance program company was doing their presentation as well. Fast forward, they saw my presentation, like, wow, we don't offer this. So not only doesn't it cost an employer to have us come in and do workshops, but it's a resource for employees. And they have about 250 employers that we're now available to their employees to help them if they're having problems like that. So it is a problem. It's very confidential. People don't want people knowing their business. And if they know they have a trusted source that they can reach out to and get help without everybody knowing their business, it's important.
Absolutely. No, that is so what I do for a living when I'm not podcasting, is I own a business called Pop More, and I do workshops, training, and coaching for emerging leaders and really anyone in the professional space. And I work in the area of the power skills, the soft skills, your emotional intelligence, how you work together, etc. And while I'm there, I'm often hearing, other stories. And one of them is this lack of knowledge around finance and credit. And I am certainly not to help them. So I love that I can be like, oh, I know Gordon, and you guys should be talking to Cambridge. Tell me how people can get a hold of you. Do they go online? Do they, and is it you in particular? What do they do if they're making the decision today? The birthday present they're giving to me is to get on track with all of this. What do they do?
Yeah, so for spots like this, I make it very simple. If they call 888-544-3457, or they can go to cambridgecredit.org/Gordon-Oliver.
Okay.
It's a landing page for this purpose. And they just have to say that they heard us on your show, and they'll get transferred right to a counselor, and we'll see what we can do to help them. And again, for the listeners, 3 out of 4 people leave with a budget and an action plan to go do things on their own. Because like you mentioned earlier, Jill, we go through the process. Is there a balance transfer? Did you talk to your local bank? And we also talk about what not to do, like debt settlement, which is a process where companies basically tell you not to pay your bills. You destroy your credit for 2 or 3 years, then they negotiate settlements. There's tax consequences. There's fees that are heavy. So it's to get people just to not be thinking so many different directions. We help them narrow down a game plan, whether it's with something that we can provide or if it's on their own.
Can you, sorry, I muted to cough, but the cough was too long. Can you do me a favor and just repeat that phone number and website one more time? Because if someone is driving, yes, they can pause and rewind, but I want to make sure that if they're trying to write it down, they hear it. I know it was 888, but give it to me one more time.
Yep, 888-544-3457 or cambridgecredit.org/Gordon-Oliver. And lastly, there's a free budgeting portal on our website in our education center that you can build your budget. It'll show you how much you have left over after income and expenses to help you, even if you just want to do that on your own.
Excellent. Gordon, you have really been a breath of fresh air. And I hope people don't do what I did, and that is put their head in the sand for a long time, because it is a lot harder to get out of it. And there is no shame in it. I mean, I've been down the road before where I was in a bad place. I got myself together and I slid a little and I made some bad decisions, and that's okay. Because guess what? I'm an adult and I'm human. So, I'll be probably reaching out to 888-544-3457. Gordon Oliver, Director of Business Development with Cambridge Credit Counseling. I am so glad that Angela Park from 52 Sumner got us in touch with each other. Thank you for being my guest today.
Same here, Jill. Grateful to be here. Great talking with you. And I look forward to maybe we can do some work together, because if you're in trouble with your finances, it's hard to be happy. And we're trying to get people to be happy and have a ton of testimonials of people that changed from being stressed out totally to having a game plan. So This is great. I'm so grateful that you had me on today.
I love the idea of being happy. That is part of my mission in life. Thank you. This is Biz Buzz 413. I am your host, Jill Monson. And again, thank you to Home City Development, who is our Biz Buzz 413 groundbreaker sponsor. If you're interested to be on the show, or if you have an idea, it could be a topic you want me to cover, or somebody you think I need to be talking with, make sure you reach out, because the truth is, I don't know everyone. So get in touch with me. You can email me at BizBuzz, that's 1Z and then 2, BIZ, BUZZ, at livinglocal413.org. And before I let you go, I'm going to end with what I end with every single day. Whether you got a little extra stress or whether you're just having an awesome day, it doesn't matter, because here's the truth, right? You're going to go to bed and you're going to wake up and you're going to do it. And the best part of the country, right here in the 413. Go have an awesome day, everybody.
Biz Buzz 413 was brought to you by Living Local.